cool. Alrighty. So let's get into meeting our speakers. So first you have myself, SJ here from Justuno. And just at Justuno, I'm the partner marketing manager, but I do come from the CS side. So I've been in it with the brands, helping them set up their experiences on site, which is what Justuno is able to deliver. And that's really fueled by analytics and all that data that we're capturing, pop-ups that can be put anywhere on your website, and just really unique experiences that are meant to convert a visitor in that session at the end of the day. We'd love to throw it over to Rianne from Loyalty Lion. Can we get an intro, please?
Hi there. Yes, I'm Rianne. I'm the partner marketing manager here at Loyalty Lion. If you've not heard of us before, we help Shopify brands increase returning customer rates with their own integrated loyalty program, which is points based. So yeah, we help motivate shoppers with unique loyalty experiences. I'd love to hand it over to Francesca.
Yeah.
Hi guys, I'm a senior partner manager at ShipBob. I've been here for almost 6 years now, so I really know logistics as well as helping brands scale from 0 shipments a month to thousands. I've been here when we had small customers, we've gone up market, and just really helping our customers meet their customers where they are for fulfillment. So we power people's fulfillment worldwide, omni-channel. So excited to talk about a few logistics related strategies that can help with your customer experience. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Jake.
Yeah.
Hi, Jake Silverman, Technology Partnerships Manager over here at Dot Digital. Been here a little over a year, working with all of our tech partners and integration partners like Justuno. Dot Digital, we're an all-in-one omni-channel marketing automation platform. So really excited to help, discuss some retention and marketing strategies with you all today. With that being said, going to hand it over to David.
Awesome. Thank you. Nice to meet you, everybody. I'm David, co-founder and CEO of Polar Analytics. I'm the former head of growth at CRO, where I used to manage 20 million ad spend a year. And I took basically all of this knowledge to have this new mission, which is to give the data stack of Amazon to every Shopify brand. Today, we work with 2,500 brands, some cool brands in the US like The Fee, Tiege, or Try Ambra. And we basically build a modern data platforms to help you guys centralize all of your data, make strategic decisions, and essentially grow profit. So handing it over to Darren.
Thank you, David. Hi, everyone. Happy to be here. I am Darren Lynch, the founder and CEO of Irish Titan, hence all the green. We are an e-commerce agency, and we describe our work as building and growing e-commerce channels. So we work with a number of platforms, Shopify, BigCommerce, Magento, Shopware, Custom, etc., to build our merchant sites. And then we work with all of our partners here on this webinar for those merchants to grow those sites through their acquisition, conversion, and retention strategies. So we're really playing, I shouldn't say playing both sides. We're in a situation where we're working on building the sites for merchants and then all the marketing activities for those. And now I think I'm going to hand it off to Troy to land the plane.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Troy. I'm on the brand side. So I lead retention at everymanjack.com. We're a men's grooming, body wash, beard care, hair care, all of that brand focused in the US and Canada. We're very much a retail first company. I work specifically on the e-commerce side, working on everymanjack.com. E-commerce is a quickly growing part of our business. So a lot of fun projects there. And I lead email, SMS, rewards, subscription, also our blog and customer support team. And we're a small team working on the website. So very involved just in the customer experience and kind of website overall.
That's awesome. Yeah. I think your view on that retention and that you touch so many aspects of the business is so important and is perfect fit for this conversation today of just customer lifetime value, mixing that with like, we want the conversion because we want it all, right? We want to have it all. Excellent. Thank you all speakers for that intro. We'll get into our agenda now. So first, we're going to get into second visit strategies for the unengaged. And when we talk about unengaged today, it is going to be from everyone's point of view, of course, but also just the unengaged, like we don't have enough data from them. We don't really know who this person is that we're trying to engage with. So we got to learn more about them. Next, we'll get into all visitors' concern. So the concern about how do we still build like an evergreen or an all-encompassing campaign so no one is really dropping out. We'll get into first purchase is done. Now what? What does that look like after the first purchase? Because as I saw someone mention the other day, like that's the beginning of a whole new cycle, whether that's the feedback cycle or just getting them into becoming more of that loyal and ideal customer that you have in mind. I have some examples for you, so if we have some time, I'll get to that. But we'll conclude with converting returning customers. So kind of the whole idea is keeping people returning. As they are returning, what are you doing to be proactive there? So we'll get into all our strategies and answer some really good themes and questions. First theme for us, why would anyone, I love that. Sorry, I saw a comment in there, but first theme for us, what do you take from a first visit to make the most out of the second visit? And this is ideally to lead to a conversion, a subscription, a loyal shopper, kind of however you're viewing that. I'll take this from the Justuno side to start with, that when I'm thinking about the first visit, there is a lot of unsaid data that you can pick and choose from and then send into your other marketing channels and other automations that you have. And that can be things like from the first visit, where did they actually visit from? Is it from an ad? Was it organic? And then determining from that first visit if they have subscribed or not after that. Now, knowing if they have subscribed in the sense of like email or SMS is important because we know what other channels they may be engaging with. So from that first visit, I would primarily think about what are they subscribed into, if anything, and then making sure that for the second visit, I don't want to show them like the same exact experience. You want to incorporate things that are dynamic. So maybe that's asking them a different question, even using like a different pop-up design can go a long way. And at the end of the day, you're in a time period, like it's March. It's a great time to A/B test to get the most and see what is really going to move the needle for you further down when you are getting a lot of traffic and are probably spending a little bit more on ads and want to make the most out of that. I would love to hear what you're thinking on this, Rianne, on the Loyalty Lion side.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for us, it's just really important to create, a really positive and memorable experience. So, that lays the foundation for those future conversions. In order to do that, I think there's sort of three key ways that, at Loyalty Line we'd especially look at. I think number one is obviously personalized interaction. Gathering that data for in the first visit is absolutely instrumental to ensuring that you personalize the second visit. I think secondly, it's making sure that there's incentives for the customer to return. Offering incentives or rewards during that first visit can, obviously encourage customers to return, but it also include discounts. If you include discounts on future purchases like loyalty points or exclusive access to promotions, you're more guaranteed that they will come back to you each time as well. And I think thirdly, it comes down to your value prop, clearly communicating the value proposition of your product during the first visit is really going to be what sets you apart from your competitors. And also, it helps address the customer's pain points. So that's really important as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love what you were saying about like encouraging that second offer on the first visit. So that's more of like, what are you giving on that first visit, which is a great point. You're giving them the next reason, something that they can recall and remember that is also connected to your other channels, which I'm sure, Troy, you can speak better to this later, of course, but just like what that can do in every channel and the ways you can position those points in is really key. Thank you, Rianne. Would love to hear from the ShipBob side. What are you thinking, Francesca?
Yeah, well, we really don't have a lot of data unless the customer actually purchases. You've gotten the customer. So I would say like strategies of from first to second, or you just have them on the website, like what can lead to conversion, because we don't have the data on anything about the customer until they lead to conversion, but we can provide data to customers' website that can help with that conversion. And so I'm looking at like badging on the website. I actually went on our customer's website and looked at it because I hadn't looked at it in a while. And I wanted to see how it was from a customer's point of view. But you can do badging like, hey, this is available for 2-day shipping. with ShipBob. So that's an offer. So if you have a fulfillment partner or you have a WMS, like just look at the functionality to offer 2-day shipping. And we even have expected delivery date, and you can get this through a number of providers. We just have it native to our badging. And I think that's like a really good way to convert. And then, you know, for your customer in the future that they like speed. Maybe it's something that's subscription that is guaranteed speed that they don't have to worry about. You offer that later on. So I'm more looking at, like, we don't have a lot of data until the customer actually converts, but how to make them actually convert on like their first visit is just guaranteeing the date. We're all competing with the Amazons of the world, 2-day shipping. So seeing that on a website is very rare until they get to the checkout page. So this is actually on the product's website too. So we'll have them on the checkout page, but on the actual product website, even before they add to cart, it's just kind of a signal to keep it going. And then we'll know from that, converting them, did they do 2-day shipping? And like, what do we want to do? Do we want to offer them cheaper 2-day shipping? What do we want to do with that data? But it's all about converting the customer for us. And that's just something we see win with a lot of customers, just having that badge, because that's like what Amazon has. So it's providing that same type of experience for your website.
100%. I love what you said, like that if they are showing they're interested in speed, maybe that's not immediate data we're capturing, but that's a cue that you can just latch onto and knowing what that next experience should be, which this is great because it does get us away from that whole idea of like, oh, I don't want to have discounts on my site and I don't want to have a lot of offers. Totally get that. We don't want to depreciate anything for a brand. So a great workaround. It's cool that you already have this built in. And then if you add pop-ups, you can show this anywhere as well. And based off of like immediate actions on site, like scroll or just A/B testing how you're delivering that when you are focusing on speed. Great stuff, Francesca. Thank you. I'll throw it over to Jake. What's the Dot Digital thinking on this one?
Yeah, so similar topics and a few other things, right? I think the first is you want to provide engaging content to visitors, right? You want shoppers to opt in and at least sign up via those pages and forms, right? Maybe through a discount or an exclusive offer, right? Justuno, Steph, you know all about this. But you want to have that, you want to have a good, solid customer acquisition strategy and have those pop-ups and forms, right, be presented at the right time to the right shopper. And there's always ways to kind of A/B test that, play around with it, really optimize your customer acquisition strategy. The second is personalization, and I'll probably be saying this a lot throughout the webinar today, right? But use data from that first visit to personalize the shopper experience, right? Offer tailor recommendations, promotions, or even personalized content based on a shopper's previous interactions, right? No one should have the same shopping experience. And the third is really marketing outreach, right? Being Dot Digital, I'll have to plug this, but make sure you're sending proper follow-up communication to those visitors that opted in, right? You want to make sure, again, that it's personalized and sent on the proper timeline, whether that's offering right, additional incentives or information. You really want to provide them with that segmented, personalized content, right? At the very least, you want folks to opt in and have them receive your communication. Use that to run those personalized campaigns to bring them back, maybe based off of what they browsed, you know, what's in their cart, browse abandonment campaigns, product recommendations, etc. We'll go into it more, I'm sure, as we go through the webinar. But just a few tips there around, you know, how do you make the most out of that first visit?
For sure. Everything that you mentioned is like you are proactively building that visitor profile before it turns into a customer profile. So it's kind of like doing a lot of that pre-work, getting into that customer experience is really crucial to getting that customer lifetime value in the end. So you know what you can try to plug. I love where you went with that, Jake. You also said something that we've kind of touched on too, like we don't want to give the same experience. And it's not just like, we don't want to give the same experience to everyone, that point too, but then we also don't want to give the same experience on the second visit. So it's like, that's where you should be dynamic in what that second visit can offer. And then I also thought about like just having quality opt-ins. When you are using these kind of approaches where you're asking more questions and you're actually using the data to trigger something of an experience, that's where you're getting a quality kind of opt-in, meaning that they are going to be engaging. The content you're dishing out is going to be really relevant to them. So great points there, Jake. Thank you so much. Let's throw it over to David. What are you thinking from Polar Analytics? I mean, you're data for life. So where would you steer us here?
I love that slogan. Yeah, so basically the way I would think about it, I think first, when you think in terms of getting from the first visit to the second visit, there is a step in between, which is essentially, I think you want to get to first visit to a first engaged visit. And indeed, I think that's an issue I frequently see. And again, even the question on taking, I think it's important first to give to the user and give to the consumer visiting your store. And so the first step you should do to make the most of that first visit is to pay attention to your bounce rate and make sure that it is a key metric that you look at and try to improve every week. I think my recommendation here is not so much to give you like, hey, a typical bounce rate for a fashion brand should be X, because there's no single answer. The best brands that we see operate, they set a goal to improve as a percentage every week their bounce rate. And I think that's the first step, first recommendation. You want to move from a first to an engaged visit. You want to pay attention to your bounce rate, and you want to make sure that you give a great experience as soon as someone lands in and minimize bounce rate, right? Let's say, so now you move to an engaged visit. What do? So the first thing indeed, in terms of things you want to take, so let's say you have given, is try to get zero-party data. So basically what it means is the goal you should have once someone is engaged on your website is either you're able to go straight from the purchase, you go straight to conversion, or at least you try to capture an email. That's the obvious one. I think a lot of tools to do that. I think Justuno is a great example for it. And essentially, that should be the first goal. Now, obviously, nobody can have 100% conversion rate or 100% email capture. So the next thing you should go after is collect first-party data. And basically what it means is you should have a tracking system, server side. We do it at Polar. You can also build it yourself. That essentially will, in the case of someone leaving, associate that kind of anonymous user ID to the channel they have been coming from, the page they have visited, and essentially the whole dynamic journey on the website. And that way, what collecting first-party data will enable you, either to make sure that you retarget them on every platform possible. Secondly, to make sure that you personalize the content from where they're coming back, and make sure that based on the product they have seen, they see relevant product on their next visit. Or lastly, at least learn, because eventually when this person will make a purchase, using first-party data, you'll be essentially able to have the entire customer journey and patch everything together and understand that actually people usually comes from Facebook, leave and come back 3 days later with Google, and eventually make their purchase with a attentive SMS notification. And collecting first-party data essentially help you get that full journey and help you learn and improve as you go.
Yeah, full journey is what it's all about. That's really cool that you can see that whole view, even with an anonymous visitor. Like, don't exclude anonymous visitors from this. That's important too. Like, they can give you just as much, if not more, data on that behavior too, depending on what they're doing. Great call outs there, David. I love it. Let's throw it over to Irish Titan. Darren, where are you at on this one?
Well, I think there have been a lot of great comments so far. And I think that one of the benefits of our conversation today will be some of the consistency and some of the themes that we reinforce in different words and in different ways, because a lot of what's been said comes to mind for me when I think about what we see our merchants who are winning doing. And so I think three things really emerge for me if we're thinking about what a merchant should do to capitalize on that first visit so that they can get a second visit and make it effective. Three things emerge. One, I think you want to establish trust. Two, you want to give them a reason to come back. And three, you want to be a data vacuum. You want to be thirsty for data like a person in the desert would be thirsty for water. Those I think are the foundational elements that will create that kind of experience. So when I think about trust, I think about the emergence of social marketing, for example, and social commerce, and where merchants who are doing well in social commerce are doing well is because they're establishing trust. And so whether it's social or your branded site or a marketplace, things like product information, your imagery, your reviews, descriptions, user-generated content, that can help establish trust. Transaction transparency with shipping costs ahead of time and what elements are going to be part of the transaction. That helps create a lot of trust so that they are confident in their checkout. And then shipping accuracy, letting your customer know when they can expect the product and then actually living up to that goes a long way towards encouraging them to come back again. And then using tools like Justuno for engagement during the on-site experience. Personalization's been talked about. We'll talk about that a lot, I'm guessing, throughout this whole conversation, because I started Irish Titan 20 years ago. In about a week, it's our 20-year anniversary. So I've been around e-commerce for a long time. Personalization for a long time was more of a unicorn than anything else. It was discussed, but not all that truly achievable. Now, I think a year or two ago, it started to shift over to being a narwhal. It actually exists, but it's rarely seen. And now I think that it is largely achievable, depending on what you want to do with it. So I think that personalization makes customers feel like you're listening to them and capitalizing on things. And then I already mentioned the data vacuum, being thirsty for data, zero-party data and first-party data. Engage with them so that you can, I like the way you put it, SJ, build that visitor profile before it's even a customer profile. And then you can sign them up for email and sign them up for SMS, and you can attribute what channels they came from. So I think those are some of the things that will build a foundation on that first visit so that your customer might want to come back again anyway without any efforts on your behalf, which is rare, but sometimes you can achieve that. Or you'll at least have the data and tools at your disposal to encourage them to come back.
100%. Yeah. I totally agree with you that at this point, there is some level of personalization that you can take advantage of and implement in various channels. But it's always like every brand has their own level of personalization, right? Or like what they consider is that. So if that is your brand and you're working with tools, like don't be afraid to really kind of spell it out what you're looking for. And then there's a way that we can, as tech partners and people that you're using in your tech stack, there's a way we can work with you to achieve things like that.
Right.
So great points on that, Darren. I love that. Let's throw it over to our brand, Everyman Jack. You are in the weeds of this. What are you thinking? What do you see, or what have you used?
Yeah, I loved Darren's data vacuum line. That is absolutely one of my goals, is just getting as much data for the shopper, or as you said, the visitor pre-purchase, just to make sure that we're sending them the right content, the right offers, personalizing that experience as much as possible. A few examples on how we do that for us, again, men's personal care brands. We often, and we do this through kind of a checkbox on various like email, SMS capture units. We also have this in our post-purchase survey, and just we ask the question of like, do you have facial hair or not? In as many places as possible to build out those tags on our customer profiles, just because if you generally like have a beard, or if you don't, like, it doesn't make sense to send beard care products to someone that's clean shaven and vice versa. So that's like one of the first kind of questions that I always try to ask, just to make sure that we're not bombarding someone that just, doesn't have a beard with beard care content. It's one of our big pushes this year. If it's not relevant to you, like, I don't want to flood your inbox with that. To try and lessen unsub rates and all of that. Another one is gift shoppers for us. We have a lot of gift sets on the site, and of course around holiday that's like, it becomes kind of one of the prominent sellers. But gift shoppers often don't come back multiple times throughout the year to just restock their own kind of body wash, deodorant products. So trying to figure out who is a gift shopper, who is only a gift shopper, and not just a guy that also purchases gifts from us for his friends or loved ones, excuse me. And so that's like another just kind of segment we're trying to build, because that audience gets its own kind of content strategy. Skincare is another example. Like if you have specific skincare concerns, that's another, like we have various lines for acne and aging and all of that. So just trying to like get as much data as possible so that we're sending promotion around the right products, because we all know everyone's flooded with emails from brands all the time. If you're getting irrelevant emails, the chances of unsubscribing just goes way up. Also, making like loyalty, we have a loyalty program. If you are coming back, if you have loyalty points, we want to make those points extremely visible without having to do a ton of work to find out how many points you have. Obviously, that helps drive repeat purchases. And then subscription offers. If you are a returning customer who has yet to sign up for a subscription, the sign up unit, the Justuno units, and promo banners that you're seeing are pushing subscription, and we're not pushing that so hard for first-time shoppers. So it's just, really using the data that we can capture to make sure the experience the shopper is seeing is customized to them, which I think that's something that pretty much everyone that spoke was kind of alluding to.
Yeah, it's great to hear how you are personalizing in each of those things that you have control over, right? Whether it's on-site, email, SMS. I had a question for your first visit. Are you typically driving to landing pages that are fully customized or existing high converting product pages?
Yeah, we've done a lot of everything there.
Yeah. Okay.
We're pushing to landing pages now.
Cool.
And finding a lot of success there. We've done that in various different ways, different tools.
Yeah.
We have a good one now and a good process. So we have a bunch of different landing pages that we're pushing paid traffic to.
That's amazing. I'm sure that gets you a lot of, or hopefully a lot of good data just from a kind of siloed experience, right? Which I've seen your landing pages. They're amazing. I love them. I use them as inspo. They're awesome. You were saying something like with your questions that you're asking, this is a great point that when we're thinking about customers, like even if your product is beard care, right? Not assuming that everyone has the beard or a beard or any kind of facial hair. Like that's just something that can, although you may want to highlight your hero product or a hero category, that still asking a question is so important. So you're not out there sending so much irrelevant information that not only is maybe hitting like not a quality lead, but it's just not quality content for them. Mm-hmm. Wonderful stuff. Yeah, great tips on the personas. Awesome to know on the landing pages. Would be curious to know anyone else that is really diving into landing pages. Examples of landing pages. Oh yeah, Dan, we had a question in here. We'll throw some in chat for you. Cool, guys. Well, we wrapped up our first theme. Let's move it on to our second theme. So this is about concerns about all visitors, right? So what advice do you give for creating a big picture experience for all? So a little bit more advanced than what we may think of like evergreen promotions, if we can go there. With the Justuno side, at least when it comes to all visitors, kind of like Troy was getting to, like with banners, that's an easy way to address all visitors and even show more than one message that may relate to them. And I'm all about like, I'm thinking CRO, I'm thinking, what can I do to convert someone in that session? So ideally, I'm using that kind of real estate of banners or side pop-ups to really give a sense of value adds, just things that they can see or read that help them overcome their own objections that are maybe around shipping, time of delivery, even return, that whole returning process, if that's what I know that could be impacting someone to convert. So for like that big picture experience, we like to see giving a lot of value adds throughout the site and then making that dynamic by showing more than one message or CTA that they can engage with. In the end, like you're showing all these messages, you're going to be able to see exactly who's clicking on that CTA with Justuno by knowing if it is a new or return visitor. And that is what sways your whole dynamic experience later on for all visitors. So the game plan is like you're giving them these things to engage with on site. But based off of what they actually click, that's where you have the automation to give them the best exit message, the best cart abandonment message if they choose to abandon cart, and then the best return visit scenario. Would love to throw this to you, Francesca. What are you thinking on the ShipBob side?
Yeah, kind of continuing my thought of 2-day shipping. It's not available to everyone unless you have inventory close to the customer. Amazon has facilities everywhere. That's why 2-day shipping is viable around the world. So thinking about all visitors and giving that great customer experience. Of course, if you're starting out, maybe splitting your inventory isn't the most cost effective. There's ways for us to run the analytics to see where you should move specific like items in specific quantities, specific regions. So just offering having multi facilities is going to be able to offer that 2-day experience. So then every customer has that opportunity. And then thinking like future thinking as well to our international customers, which sometimes isn't really a focus starting out if you're a US based brand or international, depending on where you're based. But we can help brands as well build up volume international, but that's not really something that brands can do on their own. Just starting out, or even brands that have their own facilities and warehouses. Maybe you don't have the bandwidth and time to build out an international facility, but over time, it's just going to gain more customers, just having that fast experience, not having customers order internationally, either having to do DDU or if you offer DDP, but having stuff go over customs. So it just kind of drilling back into that 2-day. And then Darren had touched on reliability as well. So this is a huge focus for us. I don't know if anyone remembered during the pandemic when one of the postal carriers was overwhelmed with stuff, orders were not going out, everything was delayed. Everything was delayed everywhere, but I think we just had an inside view because people were shipping things everywhere, as well as there was just so much volume shipping out of this one specific carrier. And thinking about reliability is just having a good carrier mix. And again, like I said, maybe you don't have the resources to do this starting out. Figure out if your 3PL uses multiple facilities. If you have a WMS, see if you can use multiple carriers. See if your WMS can do multiple carriers, as well as run the analytics of what's the most fast and cost effective. But having these carriers, you can turn carriers off. If a carrier is not performing well, or maybe you get a regional carrier. That's what we've been really looking at, of having regional carriers do local deliveries, especially if a merchant has multiple facilities activated with ShipBob. So it's just the reliability, like you said, delivering that actual fast experience. You're already marketing on your website, on the product page, on the checkout. So just drilling down into reliability and offering that 2-day shipping experience for every customer. Again, it's not something you start off if you're starting off from zero. But just that's something you should forward thinking of, like, does my fulfillment partner, my WMS partner offer this? Or is this something that like I'm willing to trade off for something in the near term?
Great. You are such a pro. That's so great. And it's
Thank
a great point that if you're just not quite there yet, you're still building up to that. That's where using other strategies to make up for that can really help. And it's other strategies, not all around discounting, but maybe how you're telling that story of the solution or need that you're trying to help resolve. Great points, Francesca. Let's throw it over to Jake. What are you thinking from Dot Digital here?
Yeah, so I'm, coming from the marketing platform side of things, right? I'm looking at engagement and experience, not just through the website, but through all channels, right? You want to create a valuable experience for shoppers visiting the site, yeah, but also through your other channels, right? Email, SMS, social. Creating a community of your shoppers and fans by actively engaging with your audience through email, social, SMS, or even user-generated content. That's really a big one, right? Encourage feedback, such as like asking for reviews or even creating some sort of loyalty program, right? To create a real community for your brand, right? And again, right, you want to make sure you're sending the right message at the right time, right? It should be a tailored experience for everyone. That's why it's so important. And I know it's come up already a bunch, but it really is so important to make sure that you're collecting that relevant first party data of your shoppers to get the content they want to see in front of them, right? I don't think Trey from Every Jack wants to send me, right, beer trimmers. So you want to make sure those emails are being sent based on what they viewed or bought, right? So maybe have an SMS campaign for a sale on a similar product, right? Again, the product recommendation campaigns can be good. I really like a review campaign after, a few weeks after purchasing a product, asking someone to leave a review. That can be really good user generated content that you can go back and put on your site to use as, you know, a marketing initiative to show how other customers enjoy your products.
100%. With the reviews thing, I'm the worst. I always want to leave a review. I always want to leave a good review. And I want to let people know if there's like something that I really didn't like. Like, yeah, I'll let you know because I would want to know. But so being consistent in that feedback loop, it's like, I feel like we can preach it all day. But yeah, don't be afraid to ask on the website, ask in all the other channels. Like that can feed into wherever you want it to go, ideally. But the point is just getting enough asks out there to actually get the review. Great point. Then you also mentioned using cart data. I think that's a great point too for all visitors, that they are probably adding something to cart, you know, that we will have the cart abandoners there, and you can use that info immediately to consider maybe bundles or consider relating it to certain creators or influencers that you know are speaking about that certain product. So just coming at it at different angles will go a long way. And it leads you into kind of that testing world of what will work best. I love Troy's thing though. Troy at Everyman Jack, they're trying everything. They're doing everything. They're getting data. We're going to throw it over to David from Polar Analytics. What are you thinking on this one? I know this is probably like a lot if it's all.
I love reviews too, by the way. Yeah, so the way I would think about it, and the way I would think essentially in terms of how do you build an experience for all visitors? Well, essentially my perspective would be actually try not to, and try to get to a segment as fast as you can. And there are ways to do that because indeed, based on the IP of your visitors, there's way to figure out the country they're in or even the location they're in, which gives you some information and can help inform the rest of the session. Or as well, as soon as they start visiting a product page, that's some information that can be leveraged to essentially put them in a segment. Even us, you know, we are a B2B SaaS, we do it as well. If you go to polaranalytics.com, we do some localization, and based on your IP, we're going to show you the logos of brands that are going to be resonating with you. If you're in the US, you will see US brands. If you're in France, you will see French brands. So usually there's a lot of ways that you can apply that to your e-com brands in that same fashion. And I think lastly, if you can't actually get to a segment, the way I would think about, you know, building the best experience for all visitors is essentially to pick your winners. And picking your winners in commerce usually means the product winners. And there's a good formula that I usually like to do to decide which product are the winners. Essentially, you want to triangulate three things, and you want to look at three things. The first one is you want to look at what's your lifetime value based on the first product purchased. So essentially gives you a perspective of longer term. What are the products that essentially help you get, the long-term retention? You also want to look at the conversion rate per product. So essentially the full funnel from product page viewed to add to cart to check out and eventually purchase, because you want to make sure you have good acquisition there. And finally, you want to make sure you have enough inventory, because the worst thing that can happen is your winner is out of stock and you have this huge winner on the homepage and everybody can't purchase. So that's kind of the three dimensions that I would pick to essentially triangulate and find the winners.
That's amazing. I love that you said like we wouldn't really want to focus on all visitors. And that's a great point, that somewhere in what you're doing, there is enough data, or in any of the tools that you're using, there's enough tech there to help you get to this kind of segmentation, which is great. We're thinking about product, we're thinking about geolocation, which is really important. I love your example there, David. And then you're also thinking about maybe like not necessarily what this person has added, but someone like them has visited from that source. What's that experience looking like? So lots of great stuff to think about when you're trying to make big picture feel smaller and more segmented, which is the whole name of the game, I think, right now in e-commerce, is being able to deliver a segmented experience and automating it in some way. Let's throw it over to Darren. What are you thinking on this after hearing us?
Well, before I chime in, I will tell Troy I am an Everyman Jack user, a happy customer, because I clearly am on the hairier side. I use the activated charcoal face wash and the beard balm happily. So good job, Everyman Jack.
Love it. Love it.
Okay, so if we think about the entire journey, the entire experience, a few things come to mind. I tend to think in threes because I think the brain operates in threes. So first of all, it's been stated, but I'm going to drill down into it a little bit differently. You have to craft your experience for that entire journey. And that's a bit of a matrix because that applies to different channels and it applies to the different parts of the funnel. So I know that there are some varying definitions of the marketing funnel. I tend to like to keep things simple. And so I think of acquisition, conversion, and retention. So if you're trying to think about how you appeal to these visitors, excuse me, visitors and customers across those three stages, from an acquisition perspective, we've talked, some of the other experts on the panel have talked about the different tools to attract them and some of the different campaigns, et cetera. But what I think a lot of people overlook, what a lot of merchants skip through too quickly, is really identifying who is your ICP. Who are you going after? And defining that with some clarity does mean who you're not going after, which has been touched upon. But I think that is an overlooked step, and that will absolutely drive the effectiveness or lack thereof of your acquisition strategies. From a conversion perspective, if we think acquisition, conversion, retention, personalization has been discussed. I won't go into it again, but that is where you can drive conversion. Another thing, a real specific, tangible item that I would add, because I think that sometimes one of the most valuable aspects of conversations like this are actual takeaways. One of the things that drives me crazy as a consumer or a potential, if I'm a visitor before a customer, lots of times when you go to a site, if it's your first visit, you get prompted to enter your email or enter approve a code so that you get a discount on that first purchase. Email that code. Most sites do, or at least a lot do, but some expect you to copy it while you're browsing. And I lose that. I skip through it too quickly, and then I don't have it anymore without kind of messing around with going back and recreating the experience. That's a pain, right? So one tangible takeaway in the conversion part of the funnel, provide that code via email. Then on the retention side of things, regardless of where you are in the stage, loyalty programs, I am a massive believer in. And we've talked about how you can acquire all the data through that. Post-purchase experience, we've touched upon that, but I think that is an often overlooked part of the experience as a whole. When you are providing the package, providing the product, communicating where it is with tracking and shipping updates, that's post-purchase behaviors that gives you interaction after interaction to reinforce your brand, reinforce the experience, and all of those interactions have really high open rates and interaction rates. Then lastly, it's sort of elementary, I guess, but market consistently with the timing and cadence of your marketing communications, with what the message is, and consistently across channels, right? Like different channels and different mediums can be used in different ways, but you want to have a consistent brand and voice across all of those. If you have a light, playful sort of brand, include that in your post-purchase behaviors along with all of your other marketing. You don't have to go stale on your tracking and shipping updates. So that's what comes to mind when I think about the experience as a whole.
Lovely takeaway there, Darren. I liked your point about the code and making sure that's delivered in a channel that they're opting in for. And that's a great call out to when you are delivering or when you are expected to give something to the visitor, it may feel like going overboard, but deliver that in the different experiences. And maybe that is a little different, right? In text, it's just a message. In email, maybe you have product recommendations in there with that and some other info about your company and your whole story there. But it's okay to be redundant when you're really trying to deliver what you said you're going to deliver. Which I will also point out, it's still lovely to include the discount code in the pop-up, and which in some cases, that discount code can be auto-applied to checkout if that's something of an experience that you would want to have. Although I have heard the other side of not really wanting to apply that discount in order to make that more of an action that someone has to take. So depends on you, but include that, make it really easy to redeem. And then Darren, I had a question for you. When it comes to like ICP, how do you fit in or consider like buyer personas in that?
Yeah, so buyer personas, I think, are a good outcome of defining your ICP. So we as Irish Titan have 3 different buyer personas that we're looking at for our merchants, for our prospects. I don't think that we could have come up with personas that are effective and have impact without knowing what market we're going after, what sort of buyer demographics and psychographics we're going after, et cetera. So I think personas are great because it gives you sort of a visual, tangible, sometimes funny and memorable way to visualize who you're going after. And then that is a result, though, of understanding what demographics you're going after, maybe what gender, maybe where they are in income bands, maybe where they are geographically. All of those sorts of things should combine to create that persona. And there's demographics and there's psychographics. And the combination of the two is what will create the right personas for you.
Lovely. And then that ICP is our north. That's where we want to keep the direction going when we consider these personas. I love that. Thank you for clarifying. Let's throw it over to Troy, Everyman Jack. What are you thinking on this one?
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier, Everyman Jack, the majority of our revenue comes from brick and mortar. We're in Target, Whole Foods, CVS. I mean, pretty much anywhere you can purchase men's body wash. So this might be a quirk of our business, but when thinking about just all visitors on our site, we're also thinking about people that are standing in an aisle, in the men's grooming aisle at Target, just trying to pull up reviews, deciding between our product and Harry's and Dr. Squatch and Dove Men and all of that. That's how I shop when I'm in a store. I'm a review researcher, and I often do that, like standing in the aisle. So we really want to make sure our website is the most elevated brand experience. It's our owned channel. And we just want to make it as powerful and as convincing as possible. And that, of course, I would love everyone to like purchase from our website, because then, you know, my emails get attribution and all of that, and it makes me look good. But like, we are very aware that a lot of our, especially organic traffic, is people just trying to research us, you know, before they're going to purchase us in a store or at Amazon or something like that. So really trying to build out the experience on the website. Reviews was mentioned. That's huge. Educational resources, especially around beard care and skincare. I don't think there's a ton of education needed around how to use body wash or deodorant. But we have a lot of beard care products, and we get a lot of questions on like, what should I be using for my length of facial hair? Do I need 4 products? Do I need 1? I just, 5 o'clock shadow. Like, what do I even need beard products for that? So making sure all those questions are answered easily and clearly is a huge priority for us. For people that are considering shopping on the website, transparency around shipping timelines. We're not as fast as Amazon. And we don't want people to think we are, but we, have free gifts and other kind of various things that differentiate us from the Amazon experience. So just trying to make sure all of that is clear. And like, again, the key mission is to make it the most elevated experience for our brand.
Yeah. I like that point. Like, you're not trying to be, Amazon, you're trying to be your own channel that you own, which Amazon is great in what it can deliver, right? It's a lot. Their product pages are massively long, especially when you're on mobile. So making that your own totally makes sense. You touched on something with your like competitors, right? When you're in the aisle and someone may be researching, which I'm the same way. I'm Googling like crazy to figure out. Has that led you to create any kind of like versus page that someone can go to from geolocation? or just knowing if they're like near a store?
Yeah, so no is the simple answer. We've actually had a lot of discussions around that recently, and I think
Okay.
there's I wasn't super involved in these discussions. I think there's new kind of like rules around that. So it seems like we're gonna kind of avoid that in a very explicit, like us compared to XYZ.
Yeah.
So yeah, the short answer is no. We haven't built out those experiences, and we might not just because we don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah, for sure. Is it also like you just can't say the other brand names or just having a comparison?
Yeah, another brand in our space got in trouble, like in a legal
Oh,
sense
gotcha. Okay.
for that recently. So we saw that and we're like, okay, not proceed on building that landing page.
Yeah,
So
they tested it for us. Good to know.
yeah, I mean, I love that kind of content. It is helpful. And I think you are safe to do so if you are not calling out a specific brand, but like we have an email coming up where we're highlighting ingredients like in our body wash that are, you know, here's the ones we use compared to a lot of the big brands, and keeping it more vague in that sense, I think is safe. But again, you just, you know, you never want to get in trouble, and these
Oh,
rules
great.
are changing all the time. So that was just a recent thing that came up for us.
Absolutely. That's a great tip for us. Thank you for sharing. Let's throw it over to Rianne from Loyalty Lion. What are you thinking on this one?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, and I sort of want to double down on what Darren said, really. And you know, for us, the key part of that is retention and how you're building those retention strategies directly in your site to keep your customers from purchasing from your competitors, really. And I think, especially with regards to loyalty, this could be something as simple as branding your loyalty program to, you know, make sure it aligns with your wider brand. You know, or you know, something even simpler like, you know, awarding points for account creation, you know, just incentivizing that customer engagement. I think the biggest thing though, really on the retention side, is making sure that you're providing rewards that really resonate with your customers. So, for example, you know, we obviously have customers who are very eco-friendly, and for them, what really makes, you know, retention a big thing for them is that they, as part of their loyalty program, can offer a charitable donation or to plant a tree, you know, and that really resonates with their customer base. So yeah, experiential rewards is a really big thing for us, and I think that definitely hammers home that retention piece. But it doesn't have to be as something as sort of, you know, complex as offering a charitable donation in order to plant a tree. It could just be something as, you know, you get early access to new ranges if you're a fashion brand, or, you know, speaking on the shipping, free next day shipping. We all hate paying for shipping. We know what that's like. But, you know, if you get it for free, I think you can definitely hammer home that point. So yeah, and just, you know, obviously the retention is name of game, but it's all about helping bring those customers time, you know, back time after time. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel like you should always have some element of being in retention mode, which Troy, that's probably like what your whole role is. Like you're just always in retention mode and thinking about that like long-term engagement and what that visitor or customer can deliver. Great tie up for us there, Rianne. I will move into our third theme here, and we've got about 20 minutes left. So this will be our last one that we talk about, but feel free to throw in any questions that anyone may have for us. So let's get into talking about your top 1 to 2 strategies for increased engagement with first-time purchasers. Just to clarify, this is as in they have purchased one time already, and then they're trying to go from being unengaged to engaged. So we'll start off with Jake from Digital. What are you thinking on this one?
Yeah, so doing Darren's theme here. I know we said 1 to 2, but gonna come in threes here, but I'll be quick.
Do it.
So around customer retention strategies, right? I think the first one, and hammering this home, personalized follow-up communication, right? I sound like a broken record. I'm sure we all do, in regards to personalization, but it truly is so important, right? Send those personalized post-purchase emails or SMS to thank them for their order, or invite them to leave a review, right? That user-generated content is huge. Offer them related product recommendations, right? Based on that previous purchase, utilize data and predictive modeling to send these messages at the right time. And obviously automate all of these campaigns, right? Make sure you're segmenting on data points like product amount, that first time buyer or even returning buyer. There's so many, insight data, certain data fields you could segment them. The second one is exclusive offers and loyalty programs, right? It's super easy but effective. Give your first-time shoppers discounts, exclusive promotions, or entry into a loyalty program to incentivize repeat purchases, right? Foster a sense of loyalty with your shoppers, providing ongoing value and rewards, right? Encouraging continued engagement from your first-time buyers. And lastly, keeping shoppers engaged with the proper content, right? Don't overdo it. You don't want to spam your shoppers, right? You want to make sure the content is valuable and relevant. Take advantage of that first-party data, and make sure you have marketing tools that you're able to automate this and get the right message to the right person at the right time.
Great points. You gave me like 10 in there, but I will let it slide.
Sorry.
No,
I condensed them down to 3. I hope.
yeah. The more info here, the merrier we will be. I love it. And I will make a add on to your last point of marketing tools that you're using and wanting to automate that. With the, I just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, we'll move it on. Let's hear from David at Polar Analytics. What are you thinking on this one?
Sure, and feel free to stop me, Stephanie, if that comes back to you.
Thank you.
I won't take it personally.
Okay.
All right, so here are a couple of things. I think first, I'll just go back to that LTV by product analysis, just because I see so many brands having success with it. And I would just start from there. And again, just to explain, because I have a bit more time here, you just want to look at lifetime value of your customers, then looking at what first product did they purchased, and then grouping it back based on that first product. And what's funny is that usually it's very different from your AOV. And what we often see, for example, in cosmetics, is you had this kind of hydrating cream, $20 AOV. Seems like you're losing money on a CAC basis when you acquire a customer who only purchased this, but it's actually the best entry point to your brand, and they come back a month later with a full suite of product. So really try to understand kind of those product journeys to then drive people towards those entry products. Now, in terms of where to action it, I think 2 things just outside of the obvious, do email, etc. I've seen a lot of brands having success with direct mail, which can be even, interesting. Now there's a lot of platform to automate it, where you can directly send a direct mail, a personalized note at scale. So definitely worth testing. And I would also mention one thing that I've seen interesting, but again, to take with a grain of salt, is doing custom audiences on ads on first-time purchasers. So here you want to be very careful, because Facebook loves to spend your money on people that would have bought anyway. But essentially, it can be interesting to test, a small campaign running on people who purchased 1, but not twice, and see if you were able to increase the repeat rate. There, I think you'd want to make sure you do it in a way that's testable with incrementality. So a bit complex for here, could spend an hour just talking on that, so I'm not going to go into details. I think you have my LinkedIn at the end of it if you want to talk about it. But indeed, I think that's the way I would approach getting from first to second purchase.
I love those strategies. For your last one, the custom audiences, that is such a great point, and is a little easier to do when you have that kind of audience sync feature with however it is that you're capturing email or SMS, because you can attach that data of if they purchase one or more times, and then feed that in to create lookalike audiences or even exclusions within your ad platforms. Great call out. Can definitely do that in Justuno. I did remember what I wanted to say for Jake's point with the spam, that there in the tools that you're using, there is most likely some sort of bumper kind of scenario that you can use to get out of that spam thought and to be in like that kind of fear that you are going to spam. That a lot of the tools are taking the steps to make sure that your automations aren't going all haywire. Like they are set up to hopefully target the right person. And if not, ideally, there are things in place where you can turn something on or off to support like who all you want to show it to. So just pointing that out with whoever you're working with, ideally you do have that ability to avoid that feeling. Cool. Let's throw it over to Darren. What are you thinking on this one?
Well, at the risk of being redundant, I'll start with personalization. But really what I'll talk about is the ability to even leverage personalization is going to be dependent on that data vacuum, on how you capture data as visitors or customers, thirsty like a person in the desert, right? And so I will reinforce that the whole notion of being able to increase engagement with somebody who's already purchased is going to be dependent on you compelling them to re-engage. So the quizzes that can be leveraged to capture data so you can personalize a message to them, tracking their browsing experience and understanding what products either they've expressed interest in or might appeal to them based on the profile that you can build to them. And the loyalty program, like when you configure your loyalty program and encourage someone to engage and sign up with that, the questions that you ask as part of that are really, really critical, because then you can, in your social campaigns or in your email campaigns, really personalize and target them for the products and the interactions that are going to most appeal to them. That's how you'll get them to engage a second time. Secondly, we touched on this real briefly earlier, but I am still a big believer in email marketing, which has its time and place, just like SMS. So this is probably music to Jake's ears from Digital, and Digital is actually one of our longest partners. Digital is sort of near and dear to me. They were one of the first partners that I felt like kind of believed in Irish Titan a long, long time ago now. But I think that for a while, there was people were beating the drum that email is dead. Let's focus on SMS, and both have their time and place, depending on who you're targeting, what sort of message you're trying to communicate, etc. So I think that identifying how to leverage each of them in their own unique ways and to maximize their impact will directly lead to getting first-time purchasers to come back a second time. And then I'll just reinforce, I won't go into length, but I'll reinforce the opportunity that so many merchants have with an enhanced, elevated post-purchase experience, with branding it, with reinforcing the accuracy of the data, remembering the open and interaction rates. Do not overlook that. It's sometimes not really very sexy, right? Because everybody thinks about how the site looks and acquisition and conversion on the site, which is critical. But there is a lot of low-hanging fruit with your post-purchase experience that many, many merchants overlook.
100%, especially in a day where it's so easy to go even like a smidge viral and that lead to consistent conversions from that. That's a great point. And post-purchase, like another unsexy part of that is like the actual order confirmation or tracking page. Like you can customize that. You can
Right.
add whatever you want to that UGC, like we've said, product recommendations, a cool quiz, something to engage with, like a whole other experience to take advantage of.
You can solicit feedback and reviews at that point again. You can encourage them to sign up for the loyalty program again then, and you can do all of that with your brand voice. It doesn't have to be a nondescript, generic sort of message.
Absolutely. Yeah. Brand voice, just driving that home. I love it. Thank you, Darren. Let's throw it over to Everyman Jack. Troy, what are you thinking on this one?
Yeah, so something David said made me switch up my planned answer, but in our personalized recommendations after their initial purchase, we always try and push skin products, beard care products, if we know that it's relevant for the person. And just a lot of our newer products, actually. So the thought process there is body wash, deodorant, and shampoo are our core products. Those are the ones that are also available in pretty much any retail store. Beard and skin are less available in those. There are newer lines, more niche, if you will. So a big benefit of shopping through the website is full access to the whole catalog. And So yeah, those categories definitely, when looking at the LTV data on a product level, have the higher LTVs, and just getting customers. I think there's an interest and curiosity factor when pushing those categories to people that may have just purchased, the core products on their first order. It gives everymanjack.com a reason to stand out. Yeah, we try and push, and sometimes there's an offer associated with that, but if we get those less accessible and retail store products in their order, on that second order and repeat orders, that usually leads to some success and higher LTV, like I said. And then the other thing is kind of just, the post-purchase experience. We use a variety of different tools to just make this as, the best experience as possible. We use Wonderment for order tracking. So instead of sending out to, FedEx's website, like, you can get all that tracking information on a site, on a page on our site, linked to from, very customized emails and SMS. I think Darren mentioned this earlier, but transactional or like order tracking emails always have the highest click rates and open rates. So just making sure to take advantage of that has been powerful for us. And then an app we just installed a couple of weeks ago is Status Accounts, and our customer account page was always just kind of very bland, not a ton of customization there, pretty out of the box. In this app, which is pretty new, but I've seen some success from it so far. It integrates with pretty much every loyalty and subscription program. It logs you in to all of that. It's a slide out card. It's passwordless login. And we've just been pushing people that are trying to track their orders or just trying to push more account signups through that. And it makes it a much better experience for the shopper because it has all their order history, all the saved products they've looked at. And it immediately links out to the subscription portal, the rewards portal, identifies how many rewards points they have all in one spot. So it really kind of pulls together all the different post-purchase experiences into one setup, which, again, we've been live with that for 2 weeks, but seeing a lot of success there, even just in increasing usage of our rewards program, because it's so much easier to see how many points you have.
Yeah.
Those two things I think are the strategies I'll highlight.
I love those strategies with it's so easy to like have or show, what am I trying to say? It's very noticeable when you aren't putting maybe that time or effort into those like kind of plain Jane emails or transaction or experiences when you have such a branded experience elsewhere. It's kind of like you can just tell that's not a main focus, and that doesn't make it a main priority for the visitor or customer to get intrigued into. So great points there. I will also note, like, as you're talking about different channels, just having the ability to track and target based off of the UTMs that you have attached is such a game changer. Like, you're not guessing, you know exactly what drove someone to the website to serve up that next step of maybe it's the feedback loop. Maybe it's talking more about loyalty, whatever experience you want to get into. That's a great point. Lovely. Let's throw it over to Loyalty Lion. Rianne, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I think for us, one of the key things that we always encourage our customers to do is, enable guest purchasers to earn points with their orders, which in turn will encourage them to create an account. If they then get an email post-purchase and say, okay, thanks very much for your purchase, you could earn X amount of points for this, you're much likely gonna get a sign up from that. And I think secondly, it's also really important that those who go on to create those accounts receive just a really simple welcome email, just letting them know what is the loyalty program, what are the benefits, and just really clear instructions on how they can, make earn points and the details about available rewards. And I think it's been touched on a few times today as well, but referrals are really important as well. So just encourage them to make those referrals. So I think those are certainly the top two things that we would recommend after a first purchase.
Oh yeah. And I'll mention, like, with your referrals thing, I have a funny story that I started swimming recently due to a knee injury. And I have been heavily influenced by another swimmer that's there. And I've bought in like 3 swim things, and I wish they had like an Amazon store that I could just buy from them, because whatever he says, like, yeah, I need it, and it's things that I want. So outside of friends, like today, it's so easy to buy just hearing one thing, and maybe it's not Amazon, but it is like your store and giving that experience that people will talk about too. So
Totally.
great points, Ariane. Thank you. Cool. Let's throw it to Francesca to wrap us up on this one. What are you thinking for strategies?
Yeah, we touched on this a bit about post-purchase. We have a couple partners that do tracking as well as like SMS, email notifications once the order comes through. What's great about having an integration with these partners for ShipBob, whether your 3PL or your WMS has the integration, we can add fulfillment data to that story. So usually a tracking page just comes from like your e-commerce website when the carrier has processed it. Same with like if you were using one of the tracking partners, it would be that start as well. So we can actually input data, which is not necessary, but you're going to be able to alert the customer faster about their order, and then have that, like maybe you want to upsell, like we said, maybe there's UGC, maybe you're recommending something, you're educating, go out to them faster, because we can say, hey, we're picking your order. Hey, we packed your order. Hey, your order's waiting for the carrier. Hey, the carrier's picked it up and they're going to go scan it in. It's just short amount of time from the purchase to contacting the customer and just driving LTV, or just driving repeat purchases, or just interest, or going back to the website, because the tracking page is really what people look at the most time. But 100% of the time, people are opening their packages, this is kind of common sense for fulfillment of doing customization, but 100% that they're opening the package that they ordered. So customization at scale is what we offer, like branded packaging. You can do gift notes, stuff like that. Customized marketing inserts. We're going to be rolling out like customized handwritten notes soon. So just really exciting stuff of like when the customer purchases, as well as when they receive the order, of just having a great customer experience.
Heck yeah. I love that those new things we can expect. It just feels like you're making it the experience that they would expect to have, and making it something that they can talk about later on.
Yeah.
I love this, guys. We are at our time. I appreciate everyone joining today. We did have another theme to go through, but right now I'll just wrap us up with some examples that you will get in this deck to review after in the recording email. Go through some case studies, some actual examples of retargeting, and kind of that messaging we were referencing on site. You'll see our 4th theme. You'll see final comments. And then you'll see our speakers here. So if you want to connect with anyone, feel free to reach out to them here, LinkedIn, and then in the recap email with the recording, I'll send over our special offers. I did also want to point out that there will be a hand raiser pop up at the end of this. So if there's someone that you'd like to connect with after, just select